What is archaeology? We can learn about what people did in the past through reading the letters and other writings that they left behind. But this is the only one way of doing history. Long, long ago, many people didn't know how to write. They didn't write letters to each other. The kings didn't carve the stories of their great deeds on monuments. How can a historian learn the history of people who didn't know how to write? Imagine that a whole village full of people lived near a river long ago. These people don't know how to write. They don't send letters to their friends or write diaries about their daily life. But as they go about their duties every day, they drop things on the ground. A farmer out walking in his wheat field loses the iron blade from the knife he's using to cut wheat from the stalks. He can't find it, so he goes to get another knife, leaving the blade on the ground. Back in the village, his wife drops a clay pot by accident just outside the back steps of her house. It breaks into pieces. She sighs and kicks the pieces under the house. Her little boy is playing in the dirt just beyond the back steps. He has a little clay model of an ox hitched to a cart. He runs the cart through the dirt and says, "Moo, moo," until his mother calls him to come inside. He leaves the cart where it is and runs into the house. His mother has a new toy for him. He's so excited that he forgets all about his ox and cart. Next day, his father goes out in the yard and accidentally kicks dirt over the clay ox and the cart. The toy stays in the yard with dirt covering it. Now, let's imagine that the summer gets drier and drier. The wheat starts to die. The people who lived in the village have less and less to eat. They get together and decide that they will pack up their belongings and take a journey to another place where there is more rain. So they collect their things and start off down the river. They leave behind the things that they don't want anymore: cracked jars, dull knives, and stores of wheat kernels that are too hard and dry to use. The deserted village stands by the river for years. Slowly, the buildings start to fall down. Dust blows over the top of the ruins. One year, the river floods and washes mud over the dust. Grass starts to grow in the mud. Eventually, you can barely see the village anymore. Dirt and grass cover the ruins from sight. It just looks like a field by a river. But one day, a man comes along to look at the field. He sees a little bit of wood poking up from the grass. He bends down and starts to brush dirt away from the wood. It is the corner of a building. When he sees this, he thinks to himself, "People used to live here." The next day he comes back with special tools, tiny shovels, brushes, and special knives. He starts to dig down into the field. When he finds the remains of houses and tools, he brushes the dirt away from them. He writes down exactly where he found them, and then he examines them carefully. He wants to discover more about the people who used to live in the village. He wants to discover more about the people who used to live in the village. One day he finds the iron knife blade that the farmer lost in the field. He thinks to himself, "These people knew how to make iron. They knew how to grow wheat and harvest it for food, and they used iron tools to harvest their grain." Another day, he finds the clay pot that the farmer's wife broke. Now he knows that the people of the village knew how to make dishes from clay. And when he finds the little ox and the cart that the little boy lost in the yard, he knows that the people of the village used cows harnessed to wagons to help them in their farm work. He might even find out that the people left in the village because there was no rain. He discovers the remain of the hard, spoiled wheat that the people left behind. When he looks at He can tell that it was ruined by a lack of rain. So he thinks to himself, I bet that these people left their village during a dry season. They probably went to find a place where it was rainy. This man is doing history, even though he doesn't have any written letters or other documents. He is discovering the story of people from the village and from the things that they left behind them. This kind of history is called archaeology. Historians who dig objects out of the ground and learn from them are called archaeologists.